Hey guys, it's Paradise, and one of the best parts of Monster Hunter is getting in an amazing hunt with your favorite weapon. During the beta, people generally loved the combat, but there were a few major improvements that players wanted for certain weapons for combat feel and performance. Lucky for us though, the devs have committed to doing some changes. However, finding all of this information can be difficult, fragmented, or even lack context, so we found a bunch of information from different sources going over the balance changes, with the main one being the community pre-launch update stream, various interviews with the community manager Jono and Joe, and the recent previews from many awesome Monster Hunter creators. So for our own reference, as we will be needing this information in future videos, we were compiling a list of these changes anyway and thought some of you may like to see this too. As it is, we know some of you have missed the changes for your particular weapon, as we've seen people asking for things that have already been announced as changed. Just as a disclaimer though, there will be changes coming to all of the weapons and more than what is listed here, as some weapons changes haven't been fully disclosed because the team is still working on the update. But let's go through all of the changes that we do know about. First up, general hit stop has been increased in the game, and they said they may increase this even further when the game launches, but they're currently testing the values to get it right. Then we'll move over to the Greatsword. We know the hit stop and sound effects have been improved on the True Charge Slash, as well as its damage. We didn't get to see exactly how much the damage has been improved, but our guess would be that it's pretty meaty, as this was a major pain point for a lot of Greatsword users, which is very important as there are even more ways to get into your True Charge Slash in Monster Hunter Wilds. For the Longsword, we don't currently have a list of changes coming to it, but we know, just like the bow, that the team are looking at the weapon to receive some nerfs, as it's currently considered overtuned by them, and it seems a particular focus will be the ease of use and the hyper armor that the weapon currently has. For the bow, it is receiving some nerfs but also some buffs, giving it a bit more variety in its gameplay from the beta. Normal attacks and arc shots are now more powerful and responsive, but the tracer shots have been nerfed for better balancing. Wounds are now locked onto one by one with a slight delay instead of all together at once when using your focus strike. And remember, in the beta, the tracer was super powerful. It allows you to rack up damage on targets very easily and quickly, as the tracer would give you the highest charge level automatically, as well as infinite critical distance. We don't know exactly what the changes to the tracer is, but the increase to normal attacks and arc shots will give us hopefully a bit more variety in combat. Now, we haven't learned much about the hammer's balance changes, but we do know that the hammer's upswing attack will no longer friendly fire enemies and launch them into the sky. Instead, it will flinch and sort of knock them a little bit. We actually spoke to Tokida about this in our interview with him, as we do know these friendly fire changes weren't everyone's cup of tea. But from his reply, it seems that the dev team are committed to this change and won't be making any tweaks on this for release. For the hunting horn, we know there will be balance changes around team buffs. Tokida said to avoid the weapon becoming a meta secondary or back weapon, they have adjusted how hunting horn buffs interact when switching weapons. Previously, switching weapons could extend buff durations, but now they've rebalanced that mechanic. Alongside this, the melody effects for self-buffing have been made more powerful, while for others they have been reduced, meaning the hunting horn user themselves will get the full benefit, while the team might not. So for the hunting horn, the actual user of the hunting horn shouldn't be massively affected, but it aims to stop other people from bringing it to buff and then change to their actual main, retaining those buffs. Now, the gun lance hasn't been spoken about for balance changes, but the weapon was performing with a positive reception from players, so we don't expect them to do any drastic changes to it. However, many gun lancers are excited and eager to test the other shelling types and how the scaling works for their shells, as they have only been able to try the limited beta content so far. Also, the reduction of friendly fire will impact the gun lance, so expect less knockback from moves that hit friendlies like the Wyvern Fire with its massive new range. The lance is a weapon that we have been championing for changes, and we know a ton of them are coming in the final game that has all of the lance users really happy. The currently listed changes are that the charged counter received multiple buffs, as it can now be chained into from any other move and allows you to guard while charging. An awesome thing is it doesn't need to be used at the end of a 3-hit combo, and because of the guard function, it now acts in a similar way to counter thrust. This is one of the best changes, as lance mains were really disappointed by counter thrust being missing. Power Guard will also now charge to higher levels faster, especially when being used after guarding an attack. In addition to this, both Perfect Guard and Power Guards can now be chained into a new payback-style thrust attack. Guard dashes have also been made faster, and the moveset has been refined to speed up the playstyle and offer more options. We love the Lance, so we cannot wait to try these changes. As for the Charge Blade, there haven't been any announced balance changes for this weapon yet. From the beta, we've seen that many Charge Blade mains out there feel like the weapon is having a bit of a similar issue to the Insect Glaive, where it's having an identity crisis in how it's performing. The main issue being around the super amped element discharge taking a backseat, and Savage Axe Power Mode taking a front seat and being the main thing that you're kind of encouraged to do. This is due to the SAED having less combo options, longer strings, and lower damage output. We know from our interview with Ryozo and Tokida though, that the Charge Blade won't be getting any major changes to the SAED combo flow, but there will be balance changes to the values on the weapon. So the SAED may still do more damage, but the combos to get to it will remain the same. For the Sword and Shield, this is another weapon receiving some big changes, and players in the beta felt there was too much focus on the charged chop attack, and that Perfect Rush wasn't as powerful as it was in previous entries. Capcom have committed to doing some sweeping changes to the Sword and Shield, and here's what they plan to do. They've buffed a bunch of attacks, especially the normal and Perfect Rush combo. They also made the mobile chop, side slash combo, guard slash, and Perfect Rush way more responsive. It's also going to be easier to evade with the backstep and sliding swipe, and the hit stop is increased to make the weapon feel more powerful. Finally, players can also use a rising slash while guarding, so there's a bunch of changes for the SNS. Not much is known about the dual blades, light bowgun, or heavy bowgun in terms of their changes, but they did say all weapons would be receiving balance changes in the final game. Now, Capcom have announced that switching into sword mode for the Switch Axe is now more satisfying. Several moves, including the full release slash, have also been improved, where full release slash now has increased power output, a stronger feel to it, and negates knockback with some form of hyper armor. Counter rising slash is now easier and more usable, which we've seen from preview gameplay that it now has a perfect timing to it that will completely nullify the chip damage and refund the switch gauge used. The animation lock for using your focus strike has also been shortened, and the hit stop is much more visible on the full release slash now. We also should point out in our chat with the community managers, we know that the sword mode will be getting a buff to how fast it will charge, as Joe did confirm this. For the Insect Glaive, this is the weapon with the most amount of changes, which is going to make a bunch of Insect Glaive mains very pleased. The new descending slash is now an offset attack, which is huge as it didn't have an offset or clash attack before. Your orange extract will now negate knockback with your weapon drawn, and having all three extracts now negates wind pressure, tremors, and roars, so you've got that back as well. Controls for the charging descending slash remain the same, and Tokida said that charging the descending slash adds a level of skill, so basically get good. The biggest change is of course the vaulting dance and the bounce being back, and aerial attack power increases by 2 levels with each vault. So these are all of the changes coming to the weapons that we know about, and there will be general gameplay changes as well, such as things like elemental damage being increased, as the devs did say they're committing to buffing some of the weaker weapons, which hopefully means all of the weapons feel great on release. Also, these changes are just the start of what we are sure Monster Hunter Wilds will receive, with various post-launch supports and updates just like World and Rise did. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video and found it useful. We just wanted to make it for ourselves as a point of reference for when these weapon changes actually drop, and we just love talking about the weapons as we use all of them. Here at Arekkz Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 2-6.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.